Welcome to another episode of VGN Weekly. Members of the Virtual Grip crew will recap the previous week's races and bring us one-on-one interviews with racers, league owners, and commentators, as well as others from within the sim racing community. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's go find some grip.
Red Light Racing Skidder Creek SK Modified Series made their VGN debut on Thursday, January 9th at New Smyrna Speedway to kick off their 13th season of competition. And defending series champion Jeff Aho captured the pole for the 150-lap affair under the lights. Eric Stout, the number 12, jumped to the early lead from the outside pole starting position and would show the way until a fierce side-by-side battle between he and pole sitter Jeff Aho and the 21 machine, in which Aho would take back his starting position. On a restart on lap 34, the dominant drivers, Aho and Stout, would make side-by-side contact out of turn 2, triggering what might be the biggest crash to ever clog the backstretch at New Smyrna. The running order would be jumbled up as drivers addressed damage, and Chris Hazlip in the number 93 would assume the lead. But it wouldn't take long for Jeff Aho to work his way back to the lead on lap 43. Two-thirds of the way through the race, the leader, Aho, decided it was time to bolt new tires on the car, handing the lead over to Luke Allen, who had not yet pitted, and Bradley Steffen in second, who took right-side tires early in the race. Steffen in his number 89 modified would quickly take the lead and prove that he had the speed to stay out front for the rest of the way as he took the win at New Smyrna. Bootleg Racing League's Outlaw SK Modified Series visited Lanier National Speedway for round 2 of their 38th season on Saturday evening, January 11th. And the Canadian Goose, John Wilson, led the field to the green flag and maintained a healthy margin throughout the first half of the race, before facing intense pressure from Aussie driver Edward Foster, who would take the lead away on lap 46. But a caution on lap 74 of the 100-lap event bunched the field up and brought new challengers up to Foster for the ensuing restart. The master of the high line, week in and week out, Aiden Young worked his way up to second and restarted on the outside of the front row and battled Foster tooth and nail for the lead for the next 20 laps until Aiden Young finally cleared Foster with 2 laps to go and drove away to collect his first win of the season. Bootleg Racing League's Late Model Invitational Series went to Lanier after the Modified Series wrapped up and Joseph Snyder started from the pole. The Butcher of Baton Rouge would keep that 39 car out front for the first third of the race, while Ruben Altiz dove to the inside and took the lead away after that. Snyder held the second position until a challenge from the number 29 of Scott Negus made it to him with under 15 laps to go. And a late caution would give Negus the opportunity to challenge Altiz for the top spot. Altiz would get a solid restart with 6 laps remaining, while Negus had to deal with Joseph Snyder for the second position. And Ruben Altiz put together a great final run to collect the win at Lanier.
Welcome back to VGN Weekly. I am John Hynam. I'm joined this week with Scott Negus. And Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John.
Scott comes to us from Canada. He has 57 starts with us at BRL. He's got 4 wins in those starts. He's got 23 top 5s, 43 top 10s. Doesn't have a championship, but you know what? I think that's probably because he doesn't run a full schedule at all times. But Scott, you have been with us a very little time, but you have wasted no time in making your mark in the league.
Well, I hope that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. You're a contender. When I say that, it's because when you show up, you're one of the guys to beat. You're one of the guys that broadcast says, "Hey, watch this guy." All positive.
Good. When I watched rewatched the broadcast and I hear Soup talking about it, I just laughed my butt off. But yeah, he seemed like there for a while. Every time he interviewed me mid race, I was getting wrecked shortly thereafter. So I tortured him a little bit about that. But
Soup has that effect on people.
yeah,
You watch it. Soup's probably going, John, what are you doing? But yeah. Soup cracks me up too, and unfortunately a lot of times I'm in the booth with him when it happens, so that's always fun too. But you tell me a little bit about how you found iRacing. How did you get into it?
well, about 7 years ago, I dilly dabbled with it a bit. Some friends of ours mine started getting involved, and of course I didn't have the setup for it then. So I only did a handful of races then. And then here about I guess it was 3 years ago, some friends of mine were getting very competitive and and I was seeing some YouTube videos and some stuff, and I was like, man, I got to get into that. So I rejoined iRacing and started out, and I don't know how many official races I raced and stuff, but my buddies all teased me about it because it seemed like I was racing every night. But now I'm finally starting to feel comfortable in iRacing, so now I'm really starting to enjoy it, and it's really addictive now.
Great. You're starting to feel comfortable. You've looked comfortable since the day you joined BRL. So
Well,
I think the field should be warned at this point. Um, you know, you said you started about 7 years ago, then you kind of went away, came back, and whatnot. What kind of equipment did you initially start with? Have you upgraded?
oh,
And what did you start with, and where are you at now?
well, I hope my wife's not watching this because I'm not going to start talking dollar figures, but
Don't
no,
do that. No.
um, this recent restart, I guess, I started with like a Logitech G29, G920, and their pedals. I quickly upgraded to Thrustmaster TCMs. I love them. And then I recently, a couple months ago, bought a Moza R9, and truly love that. Now I use a very good computer, although it seems like the video cards get outdated every year. And I
Yeah.
use triple 32-inch curves. And
Nice.
so,
Is that steering wheel? Is that direct drive?
yes, it is. Yeah.
So what did you think when you went from the belt to the direct drive? Because there's a lot of people that always ask that. I've got this. Is it worth doing this? What say you about switching over?
My buddy Chris Roma would disagree with me on this. However, no comparison. Made a world of difference to me. I found the looseness of a car, especially getting in a turn. I couldn't feel it with a G920.
Yeah. No.
With the Moza, I feel it, and I can correct and I can adjust, and it makes a world of difference to me with the direct drive.
Yeah, I switched. That's what I had a G29 or G27, and I went over to direct
Yeah.
drive, and I was really surprised. But for those listening, creature comfort with driving. I mean, that's always a big
Yeah.
thing. Whether what you're sitting in or whatever,
Yeah.
all that stuff makes a difference. Not that one is better than the other, but that comfort level
Yeah.
is really what you should be probably trying to achieve. But um, what was the first car you drove with the new direct drive? You got it all hooked up. You remember the first time you got in?
Probably a super late model. Um,
How high? Let me ask. How high was the force feedback cranked up?
it was ridiculously high. Um, I accidentally hit the auto button on the force feedback, and it took me up to like a 13.2 or something ridiculous like that. Didn't feel it right away until after about 10 laps, and then my arms were sore. Um, Obviously, anyone that's driven a super late model, it's extremely loose, extremely powerful. And anyway, I learned really quickly how to turn the force feedback down on it. So till it's comfortable. I mean, you still get the full feel. I
Oh,
currently,
sure.
yeah. I mean, like for example, last night's race in BRL, I ran. I think it was like a 7.1 force feedback. So it felt really good. Um, I'm still sweating at the end of it all, but yeah,
Yeah, it's funny is i- your arms do get sore. You mentioned
yep,
that burn in your shoulders and everything else, and depending on the track, a true bouldering where you're cranking the wheel a lot,
yeah,
50, 60 laps, and you start thinking to yourself, I'm under a caution or something. Wow. Uh,
exactly.
yeah, I've never put a heart monitor on. I know some guys have. Have you ever done any of that, or
No, no. I don't
I,
want to say what it is because next thing you know, my wife will want me to go to the doctor or something. So I'll keep away from that.
well, mine would be normal. I think it would depend on what's going on in the race, where
Yeah. Well, that
my
too.
blood pressure would go up. But um, you know, you've got 57 starts here in BRL. Do you have a favorite BRL moment that you've had so far?
Well, obviously winning. I won at Oswego, I think it was
Nice.
my first one. Um, that was my first BRL win, and that was awesome. Um, I've had a few other wins. I don't honestly remember them.
But you
But
remember that first one?
oh, I remember the first one. Yeah, I remember some of the ones that got taken away too. So yeah, uh, won't get into those
I,
ones.
I
But
I got bad news. Those are going to stick with you longer than the
yeah,
wins,
yeah,
probably.
you're right. Um, I with BRL, I'll back up a bit here. With BRL, I when I first seen it on YouTube, I think it was Matt Hoos was broadcasting it, um, and I fell in love with the league right away. So I joined the Street Stock League and kept on bugging Lowell to invite me into the other series. And once I finally got in it, man, I'll tell you, the drivers in there, it's a very equal playing field, in my opinion. Some of the guys are amazing at the mods. Some of the guys are amazing at the street stocks, and then some of the guys are amazing at the late models. So it's and some of them are good at all of them, unfortunately. But it's a very clean racing, and that's what I enjoy. Um, I'm sure you can go back and watch all the broadcasts that you guys have done. I have never honestly in irate. Well, I shouldn't say never. I can probably remember once or twice that I've spun somebody out in iRacing on purpose. Um, so I've never bumped or ran into someone on purpose to wreck their night, and that's what I like about BRL. Is you get a chance to race. Like last night, for example, we were in that late model race, and I was trying to get around Lowell, and we were door banging, and it was fun. That is fun.
Yeah, I was behind you guys. Watch, I had a
Yeah,
real good seat to that.
yeah,
I was there going, man, these guys are gonna wreck. I started 25th, and I think at that point in time, you and Lowell were going for fifth and sixth. I think that's
yeah,
about where you guys are battling.
yeah,
I'm watching that, going, well, okay, either they're gonna make this work, or we're gonna end up in a big wad and going into one of these corners. And you guys made it work. And that it's funny you say that, even playing field, and that's what I think BRL strengths. And
yeah,
there's two things they got going. Number one, that league, the core group, like 18 to 20 of the guys
yeah,
have been together for years, so
yeah,
they know each other. When you start to know folks' tendencies, you can race differently. You can race harder. You can race closer. And it shows. If you go back and you watch early broadcasts of BRL, I've been in races where we've run 50 laps under caution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost unheard of now. Um, so when you joined the league and you got bumped up, what was your biggest challenge? I mean, you had speed from the get-go. So going fast wasn't a challenge. So what was your challenge?
Burning up the tires, making it last 100 laps. Um, my buddies that I race with in the RBR division, a group called RBR, they teased the heck out of me because I burn the right front off all the time. I love getting in a turn deep. I think that's back to the G920 days uh, because I didn't like getting loose with the G920. Now I'm starting to learn to ease into turn a little better and come out a little harder. So I'm starting to learn how to save the right front a lot more. Now, in
In
saying
like
that,
in like a lamb, out like a lion.
exactly. In saying that, last night I was burning the right rear off really bad. So um, I got to work on that, I guess now. But yeah, I've always been go 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 as hard as you can right from lap one. And with BRL, it's really taught me how to take my time, patience to get around somebody or wait for them to make a mistake, and plus save the tires. So
Yeah, it's hurry up and go,
yep,
but conserve, and it's tough, and that's, I'm with you on the whole tire thing, especially in that late model.
yeah,
Um, there's sometimes a disconnect between the brain and the foot, and it's I don't know for you, but when you go. I mean,
yep,
you go, and you're right. That's a very interesting process to have to learn to slow down to go fast, and
yep.
um when you're starting to do that because you're still like last night in that late model. I didn't see you lose pace towards the end of it. So
Mhm.
what you're doing has got to be working. So that's got to be good for you. Any other kind of, was it like the speed, maybe how to race guys, anything like that? Did you find any of that challenging? What did you do to work through that?
Well, it's like anything. I'm in several leagues, late model, super late model, et cetera, et cetera. This year, I'm trying to get into a truck league that's very competitive. Um, anyway, it takes a while to learn the people that you're racing against, obviously, and what their strong points are and what their weak points are. So there's a few characters that I've learned how to race a lot better, and a few characters that I've learned to stay away from, and a few characters that and it's nothing against those people. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
saying that. It's just that they drive a different style than me, and I grew up in the the 70s and 80s watching the old school NASCAR, and guys like Mark Martin, at the halfway mark, letting someone go by so he didn't end up getting wrecked at Bristol or something, and next thing you know, he's in the top five at the end of the race. So
Yep.
uh, that's kind of what I look forward to, and that's what I try to do.
Well, I would say mission accomplished on that stuff. Like I said, last night you had a good run up through the field, and you do that constantly, enough so where folks are paying attention. So, um, how big of an adjustment were you to be able to do both cars? Because obviously, you came into the league in a street stock. The modified has a whole different set of characteristics as the late model. Tires aside, just how they handle. How long did it take you to adjust what you needed to do in each of those to be competitive?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out that modified. That big tire has me confused. Some races it feels like we're driving at Daytona and we're just pedal to the metal the whole track. Um, braking with the street stocks. I mean, it's a lot different. Obviously, there's a lot more body roll. The shocks and suspension and bump stops, etc., are a lot different. Um, but with the late model, you actually have to tap that brake to get the car to settle and get onto bump stops and make the turn and stuff. So with that modified, man, I can't figure that out. I'm usually not fast in that thing unless it's a bigger track, like Five Flags, for example, which I love. Um, or what's another one, IRP or something along that lines, where you can actually, get a little room and move with them. I With the modifieds, I seen the grooves tend to move up a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of tracks we go to, the guys like to run the second groove in a modified. I don't know if that's the big tire or what it is. I'm still a bottom hugger. I love hugging that yellow line. So it's a little different with the modified than it is the street stock and the late model, that's for sure. But I'll get it. I'll keep on practicing.
To say, I think you do just fine in that modified. So, you mentioned you're talk about getting into a truck league and all that. What other cars and iRacing do you enjoy racing?
Super late models is probably my second favorite. Late models my first favorite. Super late models is unbelievable. I don't know why. I think it's the sound, the motor sound and the horsepower. When late models first came out, everybody jumped on the bandwagon, but I find them really tough to pass. iRacing's done a lot of better work with the tire models and stuff to make it more competitive and easier to pass. But the super late model, you got enough power and enough ability to pass a car when you're faster than them. So that's my all-time favorite. Street stocks, obviously. I love trucks. Um, I think simply because it's a very equal playing field in the trucks, in my opinion. Um, and my goal is this time next year to be racing the 24 hours of Daytona in like a GT3. I want to get into turning left and right.
I will tell you this: that the 24-hour race, and I know I've said this on the show, that is the most fun you'll have in iRacing
Yep.
if you do it. I
Yep.
have no doubt on that. I got hooked on it, did it a few years ago for the first time, and just so I'm in a competitive thing. It's the challenge,
Yep.
and it's not easy.
Nope.
And yeah, those have you driven? How much? Lowell does have a, GT3 league on Friday nights now.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
There you go. Get a hold of Lowell and get
I
him
will. Yep.
get that invite to you because he does got a GT3 Friday nights. It's not broadcast here on VGN,
Yep.
not
Yep.
not yet,
Not yet. Yes.
as he would say. But yeah, it is on there Friday nights, and he's gonna get mad at me now that I don't know the time. Um, but yeah, check it out, and that's a great starting point to kind of learn and do things like that. Um, any other thing interests you? I mean, that's the cool thing about iRacing. You've got you got dirt oval, you got rallycross, you've got you got the road stuff. Is there anything else that kind of interests you, or have you tried? This is like, you know, I have a couple that I think is a lot of fun. I just stink at it. I mean, just completely stink. But it's kind of cool. But I'm not going to go race them because I ain't going to screw somebody's race up.
Yeah. I'm not really into the dirt stuff. To be honest, I've done some of it. It's not really my thing. Like I said, I do want to go left and right. Not so much in these prototype style cars, but I do like the GT3s, the Mustangs, the Corvettes, the Ferraris. I think those are wicked. Um, Ultimately, I would love to get into a road rally car. I I absolutely think those guys are the best of the best in the world. What they do and how they do it just blows me away. I
That is what I was talking about when I said there's one discipline that I love doing. I just stink at it. Can't get my arms around it. But holy cow, that's fun.
Yep, yep. I'd love to
Um,
try it.
yeah, I've tried it and tried it and tried it, and like I said, I can't get my arms around it.
Uh,
I'm a quasi, and the thing is, it's on paper, it seems like it should work because the rallycross is half asphalt, half dirt, and
eh,
all that kind of stuff. So I'm a halfway decent dirt racer. I'm a halfway decent asphalt racer. I thought, hey, I should be able to marry the two together and have some fun. No, Doesn't work that way. So, um, but
I don't know
yeah,
how much
those
you
are fun.
I don't know how much you watch it on TV or on YouTube, but them guys are absolutely insane.
Oh, absolutely. The only form of motorsport that there's two others that I think are insane. I think the NHRA, those Top Fuel guys,
Yeah.
though they're checked out. They're
Yeah.
just wired. And then the MotoGP guys,
Oh yes. Yep.
going 200 mile an hour on a motorcycle with your knee, you
Yeah.
know, eh, I don't even know how they're wired. Their wiring is not right.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know? But by God, they got a lot of talent, a
Yeah.
heck of a lot of talent, and um, yeah, the rallycross stuff. I wish they would get the WRC rally.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see come to iRacing, because that's when we talk about rally stuff. That's my favorite to watch.
Yeah.
Is I don't know what's crazier, watching the drivers or watching the fans that like to play the contest if they can tap the car when they go by. Have you seen that?
Some of these
How?
places they do it at, I mean, it's third world countries, and they're standing on the, it's wide enough that the mirrors just don't touch the fans as they go through the crowd,
Yeah.
and they're doing 110 miles an hour when they're doing it.
Yeah, and every couple of years you'll see that an accident happens,
Yeah.
and unfortunately some people get hurt or worse,
Yeah.
and then there's an outcry, but it's like, well, when they're on the track trying to touch the cars when they go by, what do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen from time to time?
Yeah.
And yeah, but I would like to see iRacing get that, because I've done the PlayStation, or not the play, yeah, the Xbox game of that, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, you and I are in the same on the same boat on that. That stuff. I think I agree with you. The way they can jump, grab that brake right when they land, grab that brake, rip it around, get going
Yeah.
in the other direction. I wish I had that kind of processing that I could do. It's like that rubbing your belly, chewing gum,
Yeah.
but instead you're driving a high-powered car.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
It is.
But um, well, you've got a lot of one of the things that I think have helped you come in and be fast right off the boat is you've got real world experience.
Mm.
And I think that helps. I think that makes a difference. You see things differently on the track. Uh, Tell me a little bit about your real world experience.
Well, I started out when I was 16 years old, I believe, and didn't even know what a spark plug was back then. By no means am I any kind of mechanic or anything of the sort. I just love going fast. So I decided to build a car for a local racetrack that we have here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it was a six-cylinder, straight six Ford Granada, I believe it was, or something along those lines. It was very cheap, now that I look at it, it was very scary. It was a 1/4-inch steel plate on the driver's door. The interior obviously was removed, and there was two like a 6-inch pipes going up from the floor to the roof, and 1/4-inch steel plate bolted top and bottom for your roll cage. And damn, we raced those things. There was some nights there'd be 250 of those at the racetrack.
Wow.
And we go right down to like a G feature. Did that for
Alpha
many
Bit
years.
Soup.
Yeah, it was, and the fun part about it back then is you could win the E, for example, the E feature, and then get put into the D feature, and then if you won the D feature, you get put into the C feature,
Yes.
and then work your way up. And one night I was completely illegal and did that, where I started at the back and won the first race, and then the next race, and then the next race, and got to the main feature, A main, and ended up blowing up the car. So, but I dilly and dally a fair bit with race cars from 1988 to 2013. Right around 1992, I guess it was, I ran a full season trying to win some points battles. I never, like I said, not a mechanic by any means. If it wasn't for friends, I would have never been able to do what I did. Continued to run that what we called a Duke class, the 6-cylinder class, So those were your Chevy Novas, your Pontiac Venturas, your Buick. What were they called? Not Regals. Anyway, so it was the unibody style car, Ford Granadas, Ford Mercury Monarchs, and then you moved into the unibody style, which was the like the LTD model, the smaller version, 6-cylinder. So ran those for quite a while. Had a lot of fun and a lot of success in them. Never had any money. Did it right out of my pocket. We didn't win money per se. Ran a full season, working part-time at a gas station, pumping gas and going to school, and ran a full season racing a race car. So my parents never had any money. They didn't put it into it, but everything I made at the gas station, I put into that bloody race car. So ended up having a lot of fun that year, and progressed to what they called the street stock division up here. It was 8 cylinders, larger cars like 77 Thunderbirds and Chevy Chevelles, Pontiac Le Mans, Chevy Impalas. I ran a Ford LTD, like a police interceptor style car. Ran that.
What track were you guys running at?
We were running at Scotia Speed World in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Okay. The Pinty series comes up in there.
Yes, it does. It actually comes to a racetrack called Riverside Speedway in Antigonish.
Okay.
And I did race there. One of the highlights of my career was racing there. I didn't win, but I was driving a car that was worth about $500 compared to some of my competitors that were racing $20,000 race cars, and I was passing them at Riverside, which was it was so much fun. I couldn't believe it. I wish someday I was able to jump in a equal playing field car and race against them. I guess that's why I like iRacing. So, and then in 2013, I believe it was, a friend of mine had a legend car and asked me if I wanted to run it. So I ran it for about 3 races. I'm 6'4", 265, so getting in a legend car was a little tough.
So it looked like you're climbing on a clown car then.
It was very much so. I used to have to wear a hockey elbow pad and on my left elbow and on my right knee, because every time I turned the steering wheel, my elbow would hit against the roll cage of the legend car. So yeah, it was tough. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. Ran a lot of laps here locally. Scotia Speed World, Riverside Speedway, PEI, Prince Edward Island Raceway, Oyster Bed Bridge, it's called. Did some racing up in New Brunswick. So yeah, had a lot of fun with a lot of good friends over the years and met a lot of good friends. And now I'm iRacing and hanging around with the sons of friends that I used to race with. So it's a lot of fun that way. And now, currently, 2024, I was invited to be the pace car driver for our local Super Late Model Pro Stock Series here in the Maritimes. So now I'm back at the racetrack again, which is honestly, it's one of those things. Once it gets in your blood, it doesn't get out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the cool thing about that is you get on the track, you can kind of be around it, like you said, but you don't have to put the work into it to get to the track, the cost to get to the track. It's probably an interesting, you're kind of bittersweet. That competitive side of you probably would rather be racing, but
yep.
The other side of you is like, hey, this is really nice.
There was a small stint this year where there was a young fella driving a pro late model car here locally, and I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but his family's very well off, and he wasn't doing so well. And I was thinking, I should jump in that car and show him how to drive that thing. But I'm an old man now, so it's not quite the same. But yeah, the thrill of getting in behind the seatbelts is always there. It's always going to be there. But unfortunately, the body it's not the same.
Yeah, and I, just so everybody who watches this, when I said the Pinty series, that's actually NASCAR's Canada's NASCAR
Yes, it is. Yeah,
version. So that series is a big deal.
it
Um,
very big here locally. Yeah,
yeah, I know Glenn Stiers and that crew have a lot invested into that. So,
yeah,
and for those of you down here in the States and you follow like Kyle Larson and all that, Glenn is a big backer of Kyle, his
yep.
dirt program and that. So, um, you know, what are the, I just out of curiosity, that's something that, said a couple weeks ago about, I would love to go up in a flag stand, to start a race. I always thought that'd be cool. But driving a pace car, um, what is that on? Have you got to do that yet, or is that just coming up?
No, I did it all last year. So I
So
did.
when how how careful, or I mean how when a caution comes out and picking up the field and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how difficult is that? Because I mean, I've seen that go south. Um, I've been around racing for 35 years, and I've seen that go south a lot. So how hard is that?
Sometimes it's tricky. Um, there was only once this year, I believe, that I had one sketchy moment. I had my wife in the passenger seat at the time. We were at a racetrack called Oyster Bed Speedway in Prince Edward Island. Um, the way that the pace car comes out of the track there, it's kind of like in the middle of 1 and 2. Um, the wreck was basically in 2, but the field was already on the backstretch. So I had to get in front of the field. So when I came out, I was going rather fast. Um, Started weaving in and out of the traffic to get in front of the leader. And when I was done, I looked over. My wife was pretty near in tears because it was pretty sketchy. Um, but yeah, that was the only time it was really scary. 9 times out of 10, the guys know I'm coming. The people that put me in the pace car give me a safe exit, give me, the right time to exit on the track. So it's good like that.
Yeah, I would think communication is all the key on that
Yeah,
front. But like, and it's not. Oh, people do a bad job or anything. I mean, a hot track is a hot track. There's a
yep,
lot of predictability on a hot track. So you pull out there when there's cars on there. There's always that potential. And I always thought, boy, that would be kind of difficult. When do you pull out? When do you pick the field up?
yeah,
Like you said, you got to go catch the field. Anybody that's been in iRacing for more than 5 minutes sees the pace cars do sketchy things almost every race. They drive through walls, drive through everybody,
yeah.
so it's a little different thing. But I would have to imagine it's actually probably not too far off what's going on in the real world, except for there's just a lot of communication that prevents that.
Yes, yeah.
So,
And it's driving a street car after a super pro late model race. There's about an inch and a half of rubber built up on those street tires, so it makes it really sketchy towards the end of a 200 lapper.
oh, I
Yeah.
never thought about that.
Oh yes. You think a wheel weight off your daily driver on the highway at 65 miles an hour is bad. An inch and a half of rubber or half an inch of rubber built up on the street radial tires. Quite a
Wow,
quite a,
that would have never crossed my mind.
yeah.
Yeah. I did some asphalt racing, but not a lot. And I think one of the biggest eye-opening experiences, one time I walked across the track after the races were done for the night, and then because of the rubber down, it almost
Yep.
pulled my shoe
Yep.
right off my feet as soon as I got where the groove was.
Yep.
And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, well, okay, that makes sense how we were able to enter here and come out over there because
Yep.
you had all that grip. But
Yep.
you just don't ever see it to the how much it really is. And man, I never thought about that with the pace car. I mean, you're probably shaking
Oh yeah.
and whatnot in there by the end of it.
And the
Wow.
biggest eye opener I had was obviously you're going around at a certain speed, trying to keep, and where they're pro late models, they only want to have to shift once when the green flag drops.
Yep.
So they're geared obviously to do that. So you want to be at that speed so they can just pull down to the high gear. But to exit the racetrack when it's lights are out and you're going green next lap, you have to juice it to get away from the cars and then duck into the pit lane. So my first eye opener after quite a few laps was juicing it, ducking into pit lane, and because there was so much rubber built up on the tires, the pace car went completely sideways and almost hit the flagpole in the middle of the track. And yeah, it was interesting.
Wow. Who thought we could have a conversation about driving a pace car? Man, that's kind of cool. Well, you talked about your wife, in the passenger seat there. Tell me, if you don't mind, a little bit about your family. How long you been married? Got any kids? Any of that stuff?
Been married since '96.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got a big anniversary coming up here in a couple of years.
Yeah, I would have been out on good behavior by now too if I would have. But
I think once a year I ask my wife, aren't we supposed to be up renegotiating this contract every now and
yeah,
again? And
yeah.
yeah, that
No,
conversation never goes my way, just for the record.
I have a 25-year-old son who he once was with the love of my life. Now he's always got his hands out looking for money or something. So it's but anyway, yeah, I'm only joking.
Well, what's funny is someone asked me about being a parent. And I was like, you know what? It's like having friends that think you're rich. That's what the kids are. They're just like really good friends that think you have an unlimited supply of money.
Yeah. So growing up with him and with my son, growing up, I was very fortunate to coach baseball with him. He was we're both baseball fanatics. And my son was able to play some very competitive baseball.
Oh, wow.
He went down and played in Florida. He played in Boston and played in Maine. Played all throughout Canada. And I was able to help.
Triple A, semi-pro.
Triple A.
Oh,
Yeah.
he got wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
He was invited. It's not quite the Triple A that you guys are thinking of, but he was invited to. I think it was 7 different universities down in the U.S. to go to after he graduated grade school.
That's incredible.
One of them was a really good school. It was going to cost me a lot of money, and he had no intention of going to school. All he wanted to do was play baseball. So we kind of kiboshed the idea. It was a mutual agreement. Let's just say it that way. So. But
yeah,
no,
I had a lot of fun in college too. Classes just got in the way.
Yeah, you're right.
That's actually the college experience, though, I think, in a nutshell.
Yeah. So no, I now my son has moved out, and it's for anyone that's out there watching this. When your kids move out, your relationship with your wife is like a brand new relationship. It's completely different.
Yeah.
We travel now. We do things together now. As a matter of fact, she just bought on Amazon some sort of puzzle board. We're going to start putting puzzles together. I never thought I'd be putting puzzles together in my life, but
it's funny you say that. My wife and I are inching towards that empty nester.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, oh my gosh, are we going to get along? I mean, we have that conversation in anticipation, and you talked about like way back when you drove race cars. It's funny how life, you have different identities.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. You're a parent. You're a parent for so long, and then all of a sudden, you got to let go. And then I can recall a time when my wife and I went on a vacation by ourselves, and that was the first time since we had kids that we didn't have kids with us, like at dinner, and we had to talk to each other and all this stuff. And it was like, oh, this is a little different, but thank God we still got along.
Yeah.
It was a nice trip, but I mean, it was that was very weird because the conversations even change.
Yep,
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we're not world travelers by any means. We've got a cottage kind of in the country on the water kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
So we go to that as much as we can in the summer. It's a nice getaway. Get
I
away from the real
imagine.
world. We put the cell phones away. We don't have internet or television or anything down there. So we put all that stuff away and sit back and relax. Well, not so much relaxing. It's always work to do down there, but um,
Sounds like
it's
a good
different.
time though.
It is. It is a different time. Um, it's work, but you actually enjoy doing it. Um, and that's nice. We do that a lot. And plus, we have the ability now, and I'm not bragging by any means, but we have the ability now to jump in the vehicle and go for a drive and stay the night somewheres and do whatever we want. So, you know, that's the freedom that we didn't have for many years with pets and kids. And where my son was an only child, there was always guys here in our house. It was the party central. So
Well, it sounds like too he was. I'm sure baseball practices and
yes,
baseball games, and well, that was baseball the only sport that he was in it too, or
yeah, no, that was the only one he was really involved in. He played some basketball and stuff, but he was never a hockey fan, which I'm very
what?
thankful for. No,
Really?
no.
I
Uh,
thought that by birth that you Canadians that was just hey you gotta have that.
well, you have to be a fan somewhat, but he never ever took a liking to trying it. Um, he did some skating and stuff like that, but never ever took into playing the sport. He was too busy here in Canada. We don't get a chance to play baseball 10 months of the year.
Yeah.
So we only get to play 2-3 months a year. So those other 8 to 10 months, he's in a gym working out, and we're doing inside drills and domes and stuff like that. So he was too busy with winter camps and stuff for baseball that he didn't have any interest in hockey at all. So
Well, it's probably like you said, probably a good thing.
yes,
Um, that we're learning about CTE and all this stuff with
yes,
between football and that. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I grew up in the southern part of the United States, and we didn't have a hockey ring within. I remember first time I went to a hockey game, and it was more of I went to a fight and a hockey game broke
yep,
out. But
yep,
it was oh my gosh, so it was probably when they were playing hockey, it was absolutely probably one of the coolest sporting events I've ever been to in my life. I
yep,
could not believe how much fun. I still can't watch it on TV, but if someone offers me tickets or hey, do you want to go to the Blues game tonight or whatever?
yep.
Yeah, I'll drop what I'm doing and go. They're
I
that much fun
imagine.
to go to.
Yep,
Um, and and you guys up there though, I'll tell you this too. The other thing you guys got about your hockey is I've been to Toronto quite a few times, in Vancouver and a couple places like that, and watch your guys' commercials for hockey games are like our commercials for the Super Bowl.
yep.
And they're just like regular, middle of the season hockey game. The commercials on Canadian television during hockey games, best commercials ever.
Yep,
So
100%. Now
yeah,
hockey's starting to get broadcasted on like Prime, Amazon Prime, and
yeah.
HBO, and all these different.
Peacock and
Yeah,
yeah.
my dad's a diehard Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and some of the games are even blacked out here on our local channels, and he absolutely loses his mind. And now that it's on Peacock and HBO and this stuff, and he doesn't get them. I mean, my dad is. I'm funny he hasn't. It's funny he hasn't smashed his television recently doing it, but yeah, he gets pretty irate over it.
Yeah, the streaming thing has been really cool, especially for us,
Yeah,
here at VGN, and all of a sudden, you and I come from a period where, now we can watch all kinds of racing,
yeah,
that are
hundred
streamed
percent.
with Flow and all that kind of. It's amazing what streaming has done, and to be able to go and watch VGN and watch what we do on a Saturday night or Thursday night now, and coming
Yeah.
up Tuesday for VGN and Sunday. But um, isn't that just incredible? I mean, uh, do you have a lot of family that watch? Just out of curiosity, do your wife ever go back watch the broadcast or anything like that?
Yes, all the time, buddy. Um,
What do you get out of them? Just out of when you go back, because you know the outcome. What do you get out of a broadcast? Just out of curiosity, when you watch one back of a race of a.
I'll tell you, VGN especially. And I don't know if I said this earlier or not, but you guys make it feel like you're watching a real race.
Yeah.
Okay. I come from the 80s era of watching NASCAR.
Yeah.
You know, the Dale Earnhardt, the Ken Schraders, the Dick Trickles even.
And then had Benny Parsons in the booth calling that stuff, all that, because he was a very colorful guy.
He was.
And,
Yep.
yeah.
And NASCAR today, I'm sorry, and I hope I don't offend anyone out there.
Yeah, I already know where you're going. You're in the majority, so carry on.
I can't watch it, honest to God.
Yep.
The
I
amount of
hear that
money
over
that's
and over.
invested into that, I can't turn the television on to watch it. I would much rather stream super late model racing on Flow, on Race in America, on you name it, YouTube even.
Yep.
Love watching those broadcasts. Love following guys like Landon Hoffman and his podcasts, and absolutely love that stuff. And to watch you guys and the way you guys do it with iRacing, it's like I'm watching real life stuff. And you know, when you do start from, like you said, 25th or whatever it is, and you're making it up to 6th spot, and Soup is there torturing you on the broadcast, saying, you know, he's the fast car and all this stuff. That is awesome to listen to, and not that it amps my ego or anything like that, but it's gratifying to hear someone recognize that.
It's validation to an extent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did say that. You know, I watched that broadcast last night, and he was pointing to you a lot, going, "He's the fastest guy on the track."
Yeah.
Now that you say that, how cool is that?
Usually that son of a gun says that, and then I get wrecked about 3 laps later. So
Yeah, the Soup curse.
yeah.
But
I love it when he comes on and you hear the bloop bloop in Discord, and hey, it's Soup up in the booth. Got a copy? That's absolutely awesome.
Yep. And that's, that goes back to the real life feel. And I know I'm probably biased because I do a lot with VGN and all that, but I can tell you and everybody that there's great pains that go to doing those, and it's just not Soup, but it's Ryan behind the scenes, getting the camera angles, and I mean everybody brings something to the table to make it. And you know Zach has come on and been a great color guy. Ricky Harden, um, it is really, really wild. And this year, especially, we're going to have so many different broadcasts now through the week. I can't even sit here and name them all off the top of my head. So it's we're glad that you like it, and glad that I've never asked that question. Hey, what do you get out of it when you go back and you watch? And that's a cool answer. I like that. So
it's so much. I've been doing this for so long, racing that is. I'll never forget my dad bought one of those big old clunky VHS recorders that you put on your shoulder, and
I remember those.
And he sat up in the grandstands one time and recorded. We did up here. We used to do what's called a brass monkey race is what it was called, and it was in January, and we raced at the local racetrack in these 6-cylinder cars, and my dad recorded one of those with that big old VHS thing, and I think I still have the VHS tape, and to throw that in the VHS player and watch that every now and again is a real hoot.
So is it one of the newer VHS players, or is it in the 300-pound original VHS player?
We had one of the big old ones where the top come up on it, and
you had that, and you couldn't even rewind it. You had to put it in the machine next to it to rewind it. Remember those?
We had a Bill Elliott rewinding card that you put it in and pushed it down, and it rewound the VHS tape. So yeah, I remember those.
That's awesome. Well, Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure here talking with you, and we're going to definitely talk to you again here in the next few months and all that kind of stuff. So, um, this is one of those conversations I think we could probably go on all day with. But man, I tell you, it's fun racing you. You're a heck of a competitor on the track. It's fun whenever I'm even in the broadcast booth. You're one of the guys that naturally I try to watch and follow through because just because you're that good on the track. So we hope you stick around here for quite a while. And but we got one thing left to do here. We're going to do that little green white checker thing. Just a little quick, either or, just to kind of give a little bit more of your personality out. So um, you mentioned to me earlier, we're going to start first one. You mentioned to me earlier, you're a big hunter here. So, what do you have more fun, hunting deer or hunting coyotes?
Ooh, hunting deer because
Why?
I do it with my niece and my nephew, and my wife comes to the camp, and we do it as a big family event. Um, and we eat good. We have laughs, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Coyote is, I don't know if you've ever done it, but coyote is
No,
pretty creepy.
no. The closest I've done is I've went boar hunting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, I'll some point I'll get into that story. But I
yeah.
actually shot at a boar and I missed.
Oh,
And boar, and all I'm gonna say is boars do not turn tail and run
nope,
away.
nope.
That's all I'm gonna say. And, but how about the next one? Driving the pace car or racing?
Oh,
Because both have their pros and cons. Like we went back to the work and the money and the
yep,
competitive. So
yep.
which one?
I'm gonna say racing.
Okay.
It's a different feeling.
All
There's
right.
nothing like it.
Last one. Do you like flat tracks or bank tracks?
Flat tracks, hands down. Flat tracks.
Suit your style more? Or is that because you attack the corner? Because you said you like going into those corners more. What about those suit you?
I like flat tracks because it's more technical with the brake pedal. Um,
Okay.
I find the bank tracks like Bristol and stuff like that. It's you know just tap it and you're right back to right back to the floor again, right?
Yep.
These tracks that you got to have the eggshell underneath the gas pedal
Yes.
to me that's a race car driver. Not so much even getting it in the turn. You got to ease off the gas. You don't just lift your foot off the pedal. Um, that's racing. Some of these Bristols and Dovers and um, I'm US. I think is it USA? No, there's another one, Southern National or
Southern
something.
National. Yeah.
Very banked. Just let the G forces do the work for you.
Yeah, you got the one thing I like about the banked is it's still precision driving. You
Yep.
have to hit your marks. If you miss those marks, you have to be consistent to be fast on those. And
Yeah.
but the flat tracks, I think you're right because you're doing more with your hands and your feet,
Yep.
and that's closer to real world racing
Yep.
actually.
100%.
So well, man, I tell you, this is a lot of fun here talking to you. And next week BRO goes to Five Flags. What are your thoughts on Five Flags? I know it's one of your favorites.
One of my favorites. I love it. I love that. I love Hickory. I love Myrtle Beach. Um, I love the old school tracks. Um, I still say Pensacola's on my bucket list to make it to someday. Um, I was trying to do it this year, however, things didn't work out. Um, my goal is to fly into Atlanta and go spend a couple days in Dawsonville, Georgia, and then get down to Pensacola. But my wife's not been on that trip yet, so I'm going to get her there eventually. But
Well, very cool.
yeah,
What are your when you go to a track like that you like? What is your expectation? I mean, do you have a goal? Is like, okay, I want to go there, run top five. I want to go there and get a win. When you go to a track that's like you said up there towards the top, what's your goal?
top five. I
Top five.
never, unfortunately, I guess, and that probably stems from my racing career. I was never a winner. didn't have the money, didn't have the
Well,
resources.
you're a winner in BRL. You've got
Wow.
4 on limited start. I mean, it's a pretty good win percentage for what you started. So
I never set out the goal to win a race. I mean, ultimately, that's the ultimate goal. But my goal is to finish in the top 5 every time, even if it's a track I don't like. But I do get upset when it's a track like Five Flags and I don't get my top 5. I get upset. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
yeah,
I walk around in a bad mood for a good day or two after something goes bad, and even my wife notices. She's like, "Man, you got to get back in there and go do something, or
yeah,
just shake that off." So,
yeah.
it's that competitive thing, I suppose. But
I think it is. Yep.
yep, the Five Flags has super fast speeds. Both cars. That late model is a handful there because the tire wear.
Yep.
I think it's got to be one of the most the higher tire degradation tracks that we go to. That's the one where
Yep.
you really have to baby that car the first 20, 25 laps, or
yeah.
you'll never see the checkered flag.
That's correct.
I think we've seen a lot of races where people were pulling off just because they've junked their tires.
Yep.
10 laps, 15 laps from the end. So, yep, I think that's going to be a great race. It'll be both races, actually, both the SK and the late models, will be Saturday night right there from Five Flags. And Scott, I can't wait to see you there, and I don't know if I'll be there because I'll be running that 24 Hours of Daytona next week. So do me proud and get. I'm going to throw the bar down there for you. Go out there and get a win.
I'm going to try, buddy. I'm going to try.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming in on short notice, and oh man, it's been great talking to you. I cannot wait to have you again.
Awesome, John. Appreciate it.
And for that's going to wrap up this week's VGN Weekly. Tune in next week, and until then, have a great week.
Coming up on VGN, RLR's Skitter Creek SK Modified Series will be live from Langley Speedway on Thursday, January 16th at 7:55 p.m. Eastern. The BRL Modifieds and Late Models from Five Flags Speedway will air on Saturday, January 18th at 7:40 p.m. On Tuesday, January 21st, VGN Weekly will air at 9 a.m. And coming soon to VGN, the OBRL's NASCAR Cup Series will begin its 36-race schedule on February 16th. The inaugural Yesteryear Racing IROC Series will fire up on February 18th, and the VGN debut of Yesteryear Racing's 1966 Tour Modified Series will kick off on February 25th. You can see our full schedule at virtualgrip.net/calendar.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of VGN Weekly. Join us next time for race recaps, interviews, and much, much more. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network and the Skidder Creek Motorsports Group.